Welcome to our panel, What Does It Take to See Equal? Now, to be honest, gender statistics can be quite disheartening, from the rate of female feticide to the percentage of women in the workforce. But if you dig a little deeper, if you go beyond those depressing statistics, we can discern a trend. A positive trend where women are breaking glass ceilings. Today we have women at the fore of all spheres, be it politics, business, sports, everywhere. Today we have women pilots who are not just driving our Sukhoi fighters, we also have a women union defense minister as well. So clearly the world is changing steadily and surely, and we are gathered here today to see the nuances of this change. What are the challenges? What are the solutions? We'll find out in our panel. So without further ado, let me just start this conversation. Dr. Phumzile, let me start with you first. You've devoted your career on the issues of human rights, equality, and social justice. You've worked with the government, the private sector, the civil society. You were actively involved in the struggle, to the end of apartheid in your home country, South Africa. Tell us a bit about your personal journey and how did your association with gender parity movement all came into being?
I almost feel that in my journey, the journey chose me. Because at a very early age, probably even before I was 10, okay, I was already an activist. I was part in my community of a children's movement that was propelled by the YWCA. Being a women's organization, it focused on fighting apartheid in South Africa, which was a racist system, but as a women's organization, it was also fighting gender inequality. And because it was a poor neighborhood, it was also standing for the rights of poor people. So class, race, and gender happened to me as a child. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Okay.
So that gave me an orientation and probably a vocabulary to understand gender inequality and to question it everywhere I went. And I just became too serious, too early in my life. That's one thing I regret.
And you're very glad you were.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Mary, I would come to you now. Now, your story is not only inspiring to the sports fraternity, but to women at large, You've broken many glass ceilings, broken many stereotypes. Tell us, what was your first tryst? When and what was your first tryst with gender inequality and how did you overcome that? Take us through your personal journey.
When I was 16, 17 years, I have seen in the television that boxing, Muhammad Ali, I've seen the Muhammad Ali match in the television. So I really inspired by him. At the same time, and one of our legend in Manipur, Dinku Singh, is very popular. He just win the Asian gold medals. So again, that gave me a booster, to inspire by him also. And
but how was the whole atmosphere like? Because you were this,
yes, that is, when I start boxing was really in the society, my relative, even my parents, also they are not allowed me to take boxing. So what I was thinking that, why not? Why women should not, take part in boxing especially?
Yeah.
If men can, why women can't? That is the challenge I start, I took this challenge. So I convinced my parents. It's take long time, because my parents are happy to take a sports, but not a boxing. Why? Because of we are coming from humble background. If I get any hurt, if I get any injured, who will look after to?
Yeah.
Who will look after about my, any happen? So that is my father is worried about.
Yeah. All right. And you overcame with your grit and your passion for that sport. Marc, moving to you, you know, you're the only male we have on this panel. And the fact is, men play a very vital role in creating this equal world for us. At P&G, you've led to a very accurate and positive portrayals of women through your campaigns, ensuring goodwill. Tell us about your journey and how did you get sensitized towards gender issues?
I was running our CoverGirl business. It was a makeup business. And I happened to be on a retreat with my family up in the Colorado mountains. And in that, it was a spiritual retreat. And at the very end of this retreat, the minister or the spiritual leader who came up and he said, I hope you know the impact you can have, because business will someday be the greatest force for good in the future. If you choose to do so, you can do a lot of good. And it was a blinding moment of clarity. Wow. Because I sat there and we had just developed the Easy Breezy Beautiful CoverGirl campaign. And we had a problem. The spokespeople that we brought were too young, too thin, and too white. They did not represent an accurate portrayal of women. And I sat there, looked at my 3 young daughters, and I said, I cannot let this stand. So we went back and we completely changed. We brought in Queen Latifah and multicultural views, all women of all ages, shapes, sizes, sexuality, whatever the case may be. Because I realized the impact that advertising has on the perceptions of women.
So talking about advertising, you know, we've mostly seen women being objectified in a lot of ads. And here's P&G, who's not only driving a change with equal ad campaigns, but has taken one step ahead and is asking men to share the load. You know, while we know what social good it has done, but also, can you throw some light on how it's impacted business? How's your consumers reacted to it?
We have a study that was done by the ANA See Her movement that says that 29% of ads, this is a study among 40,000 ads, either stereotype, objectify, or diminish the character of women. That's unacceptable, and we need to change that. That same study shows that when you have gender equal advertising, it has a 10% increase in trust and up to a 26% increase in purchase intent. Our best ads, our best campaigns are the most gender equal. Marcus Strobel has pioneered SK2 Change Destiny. It's profound change in terms of how women are viewed in parts in Asia. It is growing 30% a year. Olay, Fearless of Age, No Fear of Age, growing 10% a year. Wow. Always started growing after Like a Girl. So in addition to changing the perception of what Like a Girl means to 76% now think it's a positive expression versus 19% before, that brand grow. So it's good for business.
Exactly. So promoting gender equality is not just only a force for good, it's a force for growth as well, I believe.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah. All right, continuing with that, you know, the discourse surrounding women empowerment is mostly in urban areas. I mean, it's improving, but you know, how can we ensure that our parity issues are more intersectional and is not leaving anyone behind? Your views on that, how are you working towards that?
Just to give you an example, for the most of March, we're going to be discussing at the Commission of the Status of Women, which is an annual event that brings together governments, civil society, and everyone who cares to listen to look at issues that affect those that were most likely to leave behind. Last year, we looked at rural women. The previous year, we're looking at how technology affects everybody and the future of work. This year, we're looking at sustainable infrastructure. Okay. We're going to be looking at sanitation. We're going to be looking at water. We're going to be looking at roads, because these are some of the attributes of poverty. We don't implement ourselves necessarily, but we are a catalyst in order to make sure that the like of Marc and our partners, UNICEF, which is a formidable UN organization, governments, are the ones that actually are driving this. But we have a role to play as UN Women to influence how this infrastructure changes the lives of women and girls.
And Shruti, if I may add just a point, I really like the question you asked about intersectional equality. We say we see equal. We see equal between women and men and all aspects of intersectionality, of race, sexuality, economic inclusion, abilities, whatever the case may be. So it's a very inclusive view, and it's a very important view. So it's not just men versus women.
True.
It's all the intersectionality associated with that. And then I think what Phumzile said is so powerful, which is that it's then getting beneath the surface to identify the things that are causing these aspects. Extreme poverty causing these problems, lack of health and education and representation in different jobs. And basic infrastructure needs to be taken care of in order to be able to deal with these things. So I think it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And I think we all need to push on this front. Intersectionality and infrastructure is powerful.